Hi, my name is Catherine Comstock, and I research the island of St. Kitts and Nevis in the Caribbean. I researched 4 different aspects of the country that I will be covering in this video presentation: the history, sociology, health, and religion of the island. I first will discuss the history of the Caribbean island. The first people to inhabit the island were known as the Kiboni around 3,000 years ago. However, historians are not too aware of their history and timeline inhabiting the island. Following the Kiboni, the Arawak people, also known as Taino, inhabited the island in 1800 AD. The first Europeans to discover St. Kitts and Nevis were the Spanish under Christopher Columbus, who discovered the island on November 11th and 13th in 1493, and he named the island after St. George and Nevis San Martin. The next European to arrive to St. Kitts and Nevis was Sir Thomas Warner of England in 1623, and successfully established the first English colony in the West Indies. Following this, the French arrived to the island in 1625 and were able to establish their own colony in 1627 under Pierre Belin. Conflict was created between France and England on the island was given to Britain by the Treaty of Utrecht of April 1713, and was under possession of Britain until France captured the island in 1782. However, it was later restored to Great Britain by the Peace of Paris Treaty signed by Britain and France in 1783 at Versailles. The island of St. Kitts and Nevis were united in 1882 by a federal act and were able to become an independent state associated with the United Kingdom on February 27, 1967. After this, the United Kingdom became responsible for defense and foreign affairs, but the island had full internal self-government. However, in 1983, a conference was held that ultimately determined St. Kitts and Nevis independence. In regards to sociology, the islands face a somewhat high percentage of poverty. 22% live in poverty and 1% live in extreme poverty, and the unemployment rate is at 6.5%. Access to education on the islands is relatively easy, as it is universal and free of charge. The country does rely on tourism for a large part of its economy, but due to the demographic changes, there has been an increase in construction and waste, and the rise in cruise and cargo vessel traffic has raised the levels of air and water pollution. As well as this, there have been an increase in the number of youths who are a part of gang groups and engage in street crimes, robberies, and drug trafficking. However, the government has attempted to discourage these associations through several programs. In regards to assisting the poor, there are programs to provide food and cash transfers to help with the unexpected expenses. And their social protection system includes Social Security and social assistance components. 16.9% of the population is insured. In regards to the health of the islands, there have been several known outbreaks of the Zika virus and many incidents of the chikungunya virus. Both of these diseases are contracted from mosquitoes, so it is extremely important for people residing in the islands to be cautious and use insect repellent that contains at least 25% DEET. It is recommended that travelers receive vaccinations against hepatitis A and typhoid before visiting the islands. On the island, their water is drinkable but usually needs to be filtered, so it is recommended to purchase bottled water instead of drinking fresh water. Due to the European colonization of the islands, their most prevalent religion is Christianity, whether it's Methodist, Anglican, Roman Catholic, or Moravian. The people of the islands still remain extremely religious, and there are many Anglican churches present. Around 50% of the population practices the Anglican religion. Besides Christianity, there are a few Rastafarians and some followers of the Baha'i faith, a very recent religion that formed in the 19th century with a Persian origin. There are no active members of the Jewish community residing on the islands. However, there is one old Jewish cemetery that proves that Jews were once present on the island, but at an unknown time. Silencing the Past by True Lot examines the suppression of Africans in the Haitian Revolution to demonstrate how power silences certain voices from history. This relates to what I found while researching the history of St. Kitts and Nevis. Columbus arrived to the island just as he did Haiti. After him, the French and the British colonized the island. In an effort to silence local indigenous people, Europeans massacred or enslaved almost all Caribbeans as they were not needed to them. St. Kitts and Nevis is now known as a popular tourist destination, yet this dark side of its history has been largely written out and is not talked about. Additionally, Stuart Hall's essay, Cultural Identity and Diaspora, can be applied to St. Kitts and Nevis. Hall argued that cultural identity is not only a matter of being, but of becoming. Identities undergo constant transformation. One of his definitions of identity emphasizes the similarities and the differences amongst a cultural group. Hall explains that this definition is useful for understanding the trauma of colonialism. From this definition, we are able to scrutinize historical colonial relations, which can be applied to that of St. Kitts and Nevis and its relations with the British and French, and with the British and the French. Identities should always be looked at as ever-changing and fluid. I chose to research St. Kitts and Nevis because I have heard great things and have had friends that traveled there in the past. I decided to choose religion, health, sociology, and history for my 4 topics because I believe these categories will allow me to achieve the most well-rounded and in-depth knowledge about the country. I wanted to learn the most I could about this island throughout this project. It is always important to be educated about different cultures, as it helps you understand the world better. I think the most important thing that I have learned from readings in this class is that the Caribbean is not how it is portrayed in most movies and TV shows I have seen. There are certain stereotypes regarding the Caribbean, such as simply being a tropical vacation destination. I've learned that this is not the case. The Caribbean is a place filled with history and culture, with resilient and hardworking people. Becoming educated about different cultures presents even more opportunities for learning and growth. It helps diminish unfair stereotypes and understand a country for what it truly is. This prompts reflection and makes you more open-minded and educated on different perspectives. Thank you for listening.